Hello, everyone, and welcome back. I hope everybody's having a good weekend. This will be the fourth video, episode 4. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how I'm going to prepare this gun for the range. I'm going to the range tomorrow, and I'm going to shoot 250 rounds, roughly 83 rounds per the lock grips. So I'm going to shoot 83 rounds with standard grips that it comes with. Then I'm going to change the grips to the medium grips. And then I'm going to change to the thin grips that I've already showed you in past episodes. And I'm going to see which one's more comfortable. And I'm also going to see if my finger and my hand hold and all that is long enough to reach the trigger comfortably. And to make sure that this gun isn't a little too big for me for self-defense uses. So, here's the gun. And I also measured the pull weight on this gun. I got it's not a very expensive trigger scale. It's this one. Because I don't do a lot of gunsmithing, but there's a few things that I want to know. And there's some stuff I'm going to want to, if this gun works out right, there's some stuff that I'm going to want to know because I have upgraded parts for this that I'll have a gunsmith take care of for me. So I've already, on that scale, the double action trigger on this handgun is 9.25 pounds. The single action trigger on this gun is 4.75 pounds. As you can see, I am hoping with this trigger spring kit, if everything works out well with this firearm, that with the trigger spring kit, I should be able to get the single action down to about 4 pounds, and I should be able to get the double action down to about 5.5 at the most, which would be really nice. So that's why I wrote this down, to tell the gunsmith when the time comes so I didn't forget. I'm going to break this down, but I'm going to cut that part out because I don't want YouTube. You can look at a lot of videos. You can pull up videos on YouTube. Excuse me. And you can see tons of videos of how to break this down and field strip this gun. I don't want to do it because I'm a new channel, trying to gain subscribers and trying to get people interested. And that's something that YouTube frowns on. So you can find it, how to break this down and all that stuff, and people cleaning it their way. I'm going to do it by the way of the owner's manual that was in the last episode. I'm going to do exactly how this owner's manual says, except I'm going to do one extra step the owner's manual does not recommend, but I'm going to do it anyway because I like to do it and it's for my own satisfaction. So I'm going to break this down now, and I'm going to cut that out, and when we come back you'll have the parts laying on the this towel, and then we'll take it from there, and I'll show you how I'm going to get this ready for the range tomorrow. All right, we will be back. Here we have the gun. It is broken down, and this is the first time. Well, not actually, it's not. I inspected it, but this is the second time that I've broken it down, and I haven't touched it. I haven't done anything but look at it. And the one thing that I will be upgrading, I already have the part. I'm just not doing it yet. I want to shoot this gun factory stock first. This is the plastic guide rod. And you can see the plastic guide rod already is bent. That just annoys me. It's just something that annoys me. I don't think it'll do anything with the functioning of the gun. But I have from M Carbo, I have a steel guide rod that I will be replacing this with when that time comes. If I feel, that this gun is going to be good for me and I decide to upgrade it. I want to show you this. Here is the spring. This spring, I can rub my fingers on this spring. There is no oil. There is nothing. There is not even a film. A slight little bit of film, I should say, on this return spring. That's it. So like I said in the manual, very little oil. This is the breakdown pin. Very thin, super light coat of oil. You could just see a shine on it. And you can see a little bit right here. That's how this came from the factory. And these parts I'm going to leave with that light film of oil on it because I would oil it anyway. There's no reason for me to clean it because it hasn't been shot. So I'm just going to leave this as it is. Here's the barrel. If you look at this barrel, I'm going to try to show you down the center of the barrel. It's super clean. You can see it's like a mirror. This is a cold hammer forged barrel, which means it's super smooth. But what I am going to do is you can see that there's a light coat of oil. You can see the shine. See the shine? There is a light coat of oil. The manual says wipe everything down so that it is dry before firing. So that's what we're going to do. I have this old piece of a cut-up t-shirt that I use for when I'm just wiping stuff down and cleaning. And then when I re-lubricate and things like that, I have brand new rags that are just for wiping the gun down after I'm finished cleaning everything. So I'm just going to take this and it's simply, I'm going to wipe this down. That's it. Going to wipe everything down. The entire outside of this bore and barrel and chamber, I should say. This chamber right here and this barrel is all getting wiped down. Dry. Like it says in the book. I'm following the guidelines in the book. And that's what it says to do. Dry. So there you can see. It is dry. Let me dry that feed ramp. I don't want oil on that feed ramp. And you can see a couple little marks in the feed ramp where they test fired it. Maybe you can see, hopefully I can get it right in the light. You see these little marks right there? A couple little marks right there where they test fired it at the factory. But this barrel now is dry on the outside. It's completely dry. Now I'm going to take my bore snake, 30 caliber bore snake. It works for 30 caliber, 38 special, 357, 380 ACP. Just for those who do not know, I know there's a lot of people who do, and it works for 9mm. Because they all have the same circumference. Now, yes, this has a little bit of bronze brush in it. And this is my bore snake, one of. And I'm going to pull it through. I'm going to pull through this bore. There you go. Now I know, and you can see, not that it's going to be any difference. It's shining like a mirror. And I know this is dry because pulling this bore snake, which is probably only roughly about a foot long, pulling this, which is dry, pulling this dry bore snake through that little barrel is like running 20 patches, 30 patches through it if you cleaned it. So that's why I did it. Now I want to show you the inside of the slide. If you look at the inside of the slide, and we're going to have some light on it. Up here, there's nothing. There's not even a little film of oil on it. There's nothing on the top flat part of the rails, a little bit down here. Now, in here, if you can see it, I'm going to try to get it to the light. In here, right here, where these barrel lugs are, they have a very, 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 very thin, light coat of some kind of oil or grease, and they have some along the sides of the slide. And they have some right up around here where the firing pin is. I'm going to wipe all that out. I don't see anything. I see nothing. If you can see, which I don't think you'll be able to, you see there's nothing inside of here where the barrel sticks out. It's dry. It's completely dry. So, and there's a little bit on the outside of the rail on both sides. You can see a little bit of the shininess on my fingers. We're going to use this same rag. We're going to get it a little bit thinner. We're going to wipe all that out. We're going to wipe it out. Wipe it dry. Like it says in the owner's manual. Dry. Oil collects carbon. I'm getting ready to shoot 250 rounds through this gun. And it's brand new. I don't want any oil to be jamming this gun up with carbon and getting dirt and dust in there because of the carbon. I don't want that happening. I'm going to use back of my brush here, stick this through, and through a little bit more so I can get a hold of it if I can. Alright, you got a hold of it, get the brush out of the way. Pull this rag through a little bit. That just got the oil out of the end of that barrel breech. That's all dry. So now it's all dry. Everything in this is dry. I'm going to wipe down here. The outside of the slide. Everything is dry. I'm not finished though with this. I'm going to put this down. I'm going to wipe down here. I'm going to make sure, I'm going to use the end of my brush, this small skinny part of my brush, and I'm going to lay the rag down. And these grooves, this groove and this groove here, I am going to just put the end of my brush in there, move it back and forth with the rag to get any oil out. Just use the rag to get the oil out, that's all. Same thing on the other side. And that's dry. Wipe down on the sides just to make double sure. Now this is dry. Dry as a bone. That's what it says in the manual. There's nothing stuck. There's no lint stuck. I'm checking. There is no lint stuck in the extractor, which is right here. Here's my extractor. There's no lint stuck in there. It is perfectly clear. I can see straight through, right through. It is absolutely dry and clean as a whistle. So I'm going to set that off to the side for now. Now we're going to look at the handle and the frame. There's a little bit of, it's not dirt. It's actually a little bit of rubber from the magazine. Not the magazine, from these rubber grips. Where you screw stuff in, it's just a little bit of rubber sticking through. Can you? I don't know if you can. You see that? See this on the side here? That's rubber. It's very soft rubber. I'm not going to worry about that. That eventually will wear away. You can see the outside dry. The inside is dry. This is dry. It's perfectly dry. There's a little bit of oil on the inside of the rails. These rails are opposite of most semi-automatic pistols. Most semi-automatic pistols, on the frame, you have rails that are inside like this, where they go in. This rides inside the frame. Most rails, slides ride on the outside of the frame back and forth. This rides on the inside of the frame back and forth. It's supposed to help with recoil and all that. But I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to get a little bit. I'm going to get my brush. I'm going to get the small end. And I'm going to put it in that rail. And I'm going to run this down that rail. The inside of that rail. I'm going to run it down. I'm going to make sure I get it in here. The very end. It's just in the rail. It's all that it is, just in the rail, because there's nowhere else I really need to go. Because it's not dirty. This gun is not dirty. This gun is super clean. And I'm going to bring this back to make it a little easier. And I'm going to run this down through these rails to make sure that there's no oil or grease in them. Now if you look, you can see, here's the rag, you see a little bit where they test fired. That's it. But they're clean and they're dry. There's no oil in it at all. A little bit still left in this one. Let me get it in there. And the reason I'm doing this is because this is factory grease. I don't know what they used. And if you don't know what they used, that's not a good thing. You should know what is on your gun, what kind of oil, what you've cleaned with, and all that stuff. Now I'm going to do a thing that I always do. Just up through here. This up, and I'm going to run this rag through the magazine well. And that magazine well is clean. There's no oil in it. And I'm going to do it a second time. Just run the rag down through there so I can reach the bottom of it. And I'm just going to pull the rag through. You know, I'm ready to bring it back and forth. Pull it off to the side so that it's hitting on the side. Pull it off on the front so it's hitting on the front, going back and forth a little bit. Make sure there's no oil in there. And the absolutely oil-free clean gun. You can see it. It's not shining. There's nothing shiny in that gun. There's no oil. As instructed by the manufacturer. So now what we're going to do is I use my LSA, lubricant for small arms from the military. This is a synthetic oil. Now it doesn't tell you to do this in the instructions. It tells you not to do anything. I'm supposed to leave this gun exactly the way that it is right now and go fire it. We'll talk about cleaning it when the cleaning comes time. Shake this well. This is what I do. Anybody sees this and thinks I'm doing something wrong or I'm out of my mind, say so. I want to hear your comments and I want to hear what you think. But I read you what the manufacturer's instructions are. And I'm following the manufacturer's instructions. Now, I'm going to take this. I shook it well enough. And I have this little cup here. And I'm just going to use the very top. Put a couple drops on there. Even that's too much because it really comes pouring out. And it's just going to end up getting wiped off with a rag and wasted. So, here's what it is. Comes out like an off-white substance. This is the only thing that I'm going to do. If this was, say, a Glock, these rail slides where it's inside, you can see here, the rails run inside. This would be on this inside, the way that the rail runs, would be on the frame if it was your Glock. And this would be on the inside. This outer thick rail here would be on the inside of the frame if it was other manufacturers. That's the way that it runs. This is the opposite. So, here's what I'm going to do. I use a toothbrush. Toothbrush. It's a paintbrush. It's just a little paintbrush. You can see from my thumbnail how little it is. And I take a little bit. This is it. A little bit. I just get the end of it wet. That's it. See it right there. The end of it is wet. It's got a bead on it. And I'm going to take this, and I'm going to run this bead, and I'm going to stretch it out. I'm going to run this bead. I'm going to turn my brush halfway, and I'm going to run it down the inside of that slide. I'm kind of like painting it on just so that I get it so that it looks shiny. That's all I want it to do is look shiny. And this up here still looks a little dry. So I'm going to take another little bead and I'm going to bring it down. I'm going to paint it on because it's easier to get it in this way. And that's it. That is my light coating of synthetic lubricant for the slide. That's all that it needs. That's it. There's some people that I know who say don't even do this. But I like to do this. I just like to do this. I feel more comfortable. So you can see it's shiny just on that inside groove. I'm going to keep it run down and make sure I get the whole thing. Now I'm going to flip it over and do the same thing on the other side. And it may take 1 or 2 beads, depending on the length of the slide, how much the brush holds. And I'm going to start at the end and I'm going to paint it on there so that I fill that whole groove up and just make it shiny. It's still a microscopic. It's as thin as a piece of paper. Just enough to put a shine on it. I'm going to get a little second dab. And I'm going to keep on using the paintbrush and stretching that down. Pulling it down. Pulling it down. Using the paintbrush to spread it thinly and evenly on that inside groove. That's it. A little tiny bit more. Just a hair. So there's a microscopic film on the groove of the slide. That's it. So you can see it. See it shiny inside the groove? Not on these rails here, on the inside groove. That is it. Now, I'm going to put it back together. And I'm not going to show you me putting it back together. I do not put anything on this lower flat part of the slide. The groove, inside that groove, that channel, is the only place I put it. Because you're not supposed to put it anywhere, according to the owner's manual. So now I'm going to put it back together, and I will cut that part out because I don't want to get problems from YouTube. So I'll cut it out. You can watch, like I said, you can pull up other people's channels, pull this gun up, and they'll show you how to field strip it, clean it, and then put it back together. But when I get done shooting this, I'm going to show you how I clean it. Okay. The firearm back together again. I'm going to pull the trigger all the way back, make it easier. And I'm going to rack that slide 5, 6, 10 times, 20 times. The only reason I'm doing that is because I want to make sure that you see how the rails ride inside of the gun. I want to make sure I want to look real fast and I can see a little bit of shine on the inside rails. And that's all that I need. I don't need it to slam home. And this is now, I'm ready to take this to the range. Drop that hammer. I know that this gun is empty because I just did what I did. And I'm going to pull that hammer so that it's done. The only thing which I'm going to upgrade, and I'm a little concerned about, other than the grip feels good, like I said, I can get my finger on the trigger. It just feels like I don't get my finger on a lot of the trigger. Now, if I put it in the thing, the trigger comes back a little bit, and I can get a little bit more on my trigger. It's a little far forward when it's like that. But if I pull back, I hit a wall. And that wall is powerful enough that I can get my finger on it. And that beaver tail's in the web. So now I have my, my stand. The only thing about this gun is these sights. You can see these sights. The sights are terrible on this firearm. And I'm hoping they're such small dots. I'm hoping there's enough light at the range that I'll be able to see. I'm going to fire it again. Dry fire. Get that hammer down so I can put it back in the case. And that's it. That's as far as I'm going to go. Everything from the manufacturer, all oil, grease, anything that the manufacturer put in, and when you see, they hardly put anything in it at all, because that's what they recommend. They actually recommend you shoot this gun dry. The only time you oil this gun is you oil the inside of the barrel, you oil the outside of the barrel, and then you could put a very microscopic, and that's all microscopic oil, microscopic amount of lubrication, oil, silicone rag on the outside of the gun because of the metal to protect it from the elements. But when you go to shoot it, you wipe everything down so it's dry and it's not slippery, and the barrel is dry and the inside of the barrel is dry, and that's how you're supposed to shoot this gun. And it says it in the owner's manual, and I showed it in episode 3. All you got to do is watch it. I know these videos can run long, but they are what they are. If you want to learn about certain things in firearms, you can't describe it in a matter of 2 minutes. One of the upgrades that I will show you, if I like this gun and everything goes well with firing it, and my finger, reaches the trigger comfortably and all that, is I will be having these installed. You can look these up. Here's your sight picture. Actually, here's your sight picture. So it should be fine. Even though I'm not going to use this firearm for home protection. This firearm is going to be used for self-protection when I'm out and about, when I leave the house. That's what this firearm is going to be. So I want sights that I'm going to be able to see. And you have to remove a pin to get the front sight in. And I don't have the pins and all that stuff and to know how to do that. So I'm going to have a gunsmith do it. And it's for the 75 series with fixed rear sights. Includes PCR, Rami, the Omega, and TS Checkmate models. This is the same thing as the PCR, except it has a rail. That's the only difference. So PCR is a compact, so is this. And then I have other parts that I'll show you in the next video. This little bit of the LSA I might take the top off and try to use the paintbrush and scrape it back in the barrel so I don't lose it. Because this stuff is hard to get. And it's not super expensive, but it's hard enough to get. And that's a lot. That was a whole lot that just came out. It just poured out of that barrel. But, out of the container. But you can see, I hold it up, it doesn't run. See how it stays the same where it is? It doesn't run. Because it's a synthetic lubricant for high friction and stuff like that. So, that's it. Now we're ready for the range. And that's all that it takes. That's how you get this gun ready for the range according to the owner's manual's instructions. And that's what I'm going to follow. The owner's manual instructions. So I'm going to put it back in its case. It's going to go back home. And I'm going to close it up. Tomorrow I'll take it just like this to the range. And I'll take my grips and my little screwdriver to change the grips. And I'm going to shoot 250 rounds through this. And we'll see how things work out. And I'll give you a range report after it's over. So, and we'll take a look and see if those grips, if they change the profile of the way it sits in my hand, if it did anything to this knuckle. If it hurt my knuckle and all that kind of stuff. So, that's it. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Have a good rest of your weekend. I may do a video of me cleaning this. I'll probably wait till next weekend. So if you want to see episode 5, you can see that. All right. Have a good night now. Bye-bye.